Okay.
All righty. So hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Martinez, and I'm a librarian at Livermore Public Library. Welcome to our final program celebrating Black History Month this year. Thank you to the Friends of the Livermore Library for sponsoring Black History Month events at the library.
Hello, my name is Paul Sevilla, and I'm also a librarian for the Livermore Public Library. Thank you for attending tonight's wonderful panel program. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end where our panelists will respond to all the questions during the Q&A.
All right, so it's an honor for me to introduce tonight's moderator. Award-winning author Tina Jones Williams has written 9 books that pay homage to the rich traditions in the African-American community. Tina grew up in South Berkeley during the late 1960s. She was a member of the first desegregated class at Garfield Junior High prior to attending Berkeley High School. Tina is a past president of the San Jose chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated and is a proud and active member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She is also a member of the National League of American Pen Women. Welcome, Tina.
Good evening.
Hi, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure and our pleasure to round out Black History Month and to usher in International Women's Month. What a great spot for us to be in. It would be great if I could say that this panel came together after great deliberation. That's not true. It's quite serendipitous that each one of these panelists is at a different place in life, from varying backgrounds, very different perspectives and interests, and very personal artistic passions. And it is those passions that we're going to spend some time talking about tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce 6 Black women who create. Dorothy Atkins, Dr. Stephanie Johnson, Kendra Williams, Terry Cato, Shayna Pete, and Queen Anne Cannon. I'm going to start this evening with Dorothy Atkins. Dorothy, I'm going to ask you what your 3 words are, and I'm going to provide a little context for that. Years ago, I can't remember how many, but a lot of years ago, I read somewhere that it's important to be able to encapsulate what you're doing and what you're passionate about in 3 words. And I've sort of carried that forward in my life. And at this point, for illustration, my 3 words are author, storyteller, and folklorist. And the why that goes with that is I believe that there are people, places, and times that shouldn't be forgotten. So I write honoring the past, I record the present, and I hopefully, prayerfully inspire hope for the future. So Dorothy, if you could share with us your 3 words and the sort of the why that go with them.
I'm an artist, a writer, and a motivational speaker. And what goes along with my 3 words is I didn't set out in this journey to change the world, but I did set out to change the narrative. And I'm doing that through my art. And whenever I have a moment or a time to speak about it or show it, I'm showing it through those 3 mediums.
Thank you. Kendra.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so full disclosure, Kendra's my daughter. So if I gush just a little bit more than I gush about everyone else, it's because I'm slightly biased. Kendra, what are your 3 words and what are you passionate about at this point in your life?
Well, I have to be honest that I started with an entirely different list of 3 words, and they've changed about 6 or 7 times since. And today I have landed on storyteller, writer, and creative producer. They change because I change. I'm always evolving and transforming, and so do my passions. But they all kind of swim around those 3 areas.
Thank you. Shayna, what are your 3 words and a little bit about why you're passionate about those things?
Hi, and good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Shayna Pete, she, her, aya pronouns, and my 3 words, much like Kendra, are like 58 words. The 3 that I'm going with today are liberation, joy, and love. So more than identifiers, I kind of went with the things that I'm passionate about. I might be a little bit of the oddball on this panel. These folks are artists that can hold up beautiful works and, use words that will move you, on the stage and things like that. I think I come with more of a creative energy that permeates my everyday life in kind of, maybe I would venture to say, more mundane ways. But I'm excited to talk with those of you who can't pick up a paintbrush or sculpt something and make that your artistic expression, but you can still find ways to show up creatively. And those words are really important to me because they exemplify my purpose on this earth. And I'm excited to have a chance to talk with you a little bit more later about what that means to me.
Well, and quite frankly, because of this serendipitous way in which this panel came together, what you're doing fits beautifully in with what everybody else is doing. So from there, thank you. Next, Terry Cato.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm actually honored to be a part of this panel with such dynamic women. And my 3 words are author, content creator, and community volunteer. And I don't know that I necessarily chose those words or these titles, or if they chose me, because I was born to write. And ever since I can remember, everything that I love and everything that I'm passionate about, it had something to do with writing, reading and writing. So it was really just a natural transition when I wrote my first book. I never sought out to be an author. I never thought that my writing was good enough for anybody to read it. But it was really at the urging of my sister-in-law, who recently passed away, that she encouraged me to, put my story in a book. We would just always have these family dinners and family gatherings, and we would just share like people do. And she would hear my stories and my testimonies of just overcoming adversity. And she was like, Terry, you need to put this in a book. People need to read this. People need to hear this. This will inspire people. So that's why I do what I do. And becoming a content creator, it was just a natural progression. My TV show, Real Talk with Terry, and my podcast, it kind of came about as a natural progression from the book and just creating a platform and then having a following and people who believe in me and people who are inspired by my story of just overcoming adversity to fulfill your purpose in life. That's kind of what got me here. And the same thing, community volunteer, is very much at the core of who I am. Even when I was a little girl, I started volunteering because I would get these letters in the mail about being in pageants. And I was like, okay, I think I have somewhat of a talent. I have this, I have that. And I said, the only thing I don't have is community service. I was like, what is community service? And I'll never forget, I was like, okay, I need to volunteer if I want to be in this pageant. I was going to be in a Teen USA pageant to win scholarship money for college. Got my first job because I walked around the corner to the local Boys and Girls Club and told him that I wanted to volunteer. And I volunteered for 3 days. And he said, you're such a good worker, we need to put you on payroll.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the beginning of a lifelong just being of service. So and I'll leave it there. So I'm excited to just share more about my journey and my passions with you ladies.
And we're excited to hear about them.
Thank you.
So next, Dr. Stephanie Johnson. And I always, always, always will refer to you as Dr. Stephanie, because I think it's important to call people what they are.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. And thanks for this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's information and sharing mine. My 3 words are educator, warrior, and I messed it up a little bit. I'm gonna go through the boundaries here and say in-progress and call it one word.
Oh, that's fine.
Educator, because that's my day job. I'm a professor at a university. And also I educate people through my visual arts work as well. A warrior because of my martial arts background, as well as fighting for vulnerable people and going along with what Tina said about people not being forgotten. So important to archive and write and make sure people are not forgotten. And in progress, because I'm still working on myself. I'm still listening to the ancestors and doing what they asked me to do. So I'm a being in progress.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Queen Anne Cannon. You're on, unmute, Queen Anne.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
I'm so excited to be here. I was just so nervous because, wow, this is like an opportunity I rarely get, you know. I've been doing my TV show for like 45 years and I've done, like my life is like a, I would say complex, is an assorted puzzle. It has all different shapes, all different colors that's come together at this age in life. I didn't know what it was in the beginning. I was like, how come I can't just stay put and do one thing? But I'm grateful that I kept following what I was passionate about. And my 3 words is honesty, integrity, and possibility. So I was looking at possibility and everything. Is it honest? Am I being honest here, or the situation honest? An honest thing to, so you can rechange it if you need to, or alter it in any way. And just being the best possible person I can be. So that's my 3 words. And I'll talk more about it because my passion also includes service and like what's next. No matter what I'm doing, my life has been about what's next. We do this, we do that. Now what's possible that doesn't have to exist right now? Like what's the next thing we can do to add to our community, add to our growth, add to our well-being, you know? So it's gonna be a really great conversation.
Thank you, Queen Anne. You know, as I listened to you, and again, full disclosure, one of the primary reasons that I wanted to do this panel was because I'm so interested in what each one of you is doing, and it would give me an opportunity to hear from you in your own words, what's important to you. Whenever Queen Anne calls me, I know that I'm in for an adventure. Whenever I talk to Dr. Stephanie, I know that we're going to, in some way, go back to the future. We're going to archive something and plan something for tomorrow. I have to admit that Terry Cato is my sorority sister, so we work together on community projects and we laugh and we have a good time and we hold sisterhood dear. And then Shayna, I met because she supported me. She's come to events where I've read from my books and we've seen each other socially. And I've also found out from her that, and from Paul, some of the things that she does within this community and in her career. So I'm interested to hear more of that. And Dorothy and I are both Penn women. We're in the National League of Penn Women together. And I get an opportunity once a month to get a little peek into what Dorothy is doing. And then Kendra, I've known for a long time. But this gives me an opportunity to hear from her what it is that she's passionate about. So with that, let's go back to Dorothy and share with us, Dorothy, a little bit about your journey, how you decided that art was the way that you wanted to share your feelings, and poetry and writing.
Thank you again. And I'm so excited about listening to all the other women that I kind of forgot where I wanted to start or where I wanted to be or whatever. But I have to say that I come from a family of storytelling. So stories were always important in my life. I listened to the older women, the older men, the church women. I always was fascinated about whatever they had to say. And I don't know when I exactly became interested in writing and drawing, but I do know that I've been preparing for this all my life. And I knew when I was a small child that I wanted to tell my own story. I wanted to tell it through art. I wanted to tell it when I was talking to other people. And I just wanted to tell my own story because I always felt my story and my culture was sort of hijacked when I was growing up. There wasn't a lot said about my culture, and what was said about it was not accurate. So I knew as a small child that this is what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to draw it. I wanted to say it. I wanted to include others, and I just wanted to take that path. Now, I'm going to read some things so I don't go way off on a tangent here, but prior to my professional life as a banker, I had little time for any kind of creative art or anything. So I used my time on the BART to write and draw. And I would watch people as they got on the train, and I was fascinated about the commonalities that they all had, trying to catch that next train. And so I knew that people were just fascinating to me, even though they were different. There was something in common that we all shared. And that just grabbed a hold of me. So I do that. I use that in my art. I grew up in an all-white neighborhood, which allowed me to listen to stories told, especially the ones about people of color. During my formative years where self-worth and confidence was brewing, I recognized that the stories told about my culture was all wrong. And I began to listen closely. My ancestors were more than slaves, I always thought. Even as a youngster, I witnessed in my family and other families of color, Black excellence, creative, talented, educated people despite roadblocks, contributors in the world order, successful, worthy, and belonging despite roadblocks. An American story despite roadblocks. I always knew my own worth and that I deserved to be here to contribute to society and make a difference. This I would always carry within me, no matter what the challenge was or might be. And it fueled my passion to tell the world. Never seeing myself as less than, but full of pride as a little colored girl, and then a woman. Reinforced by the fact that in school, I was just as creative, smart, and often smarter than other children around me. I had a kind soul, empathy, and was concerned about humanity, no matter who it was. A gift bestowed on me by my ancestors. As an artist, I feel the lives of my ancestors quietly in the night, speaking gently to me of triumphs and pride, whispering of their greatness, kings and queens and learned folks. Using that gift was a driving force in my own journey. Social unrest in our country and the pandemic brought me, a brown mama, to my knees. And it made it challenging to get through the day and maintain that joy in my soul. So once again, I turned to art and my passion. Outraged and heartbroken but inspired by people coming together. Whether I was successful in getting my thoughts out in the universe was never a challenge or a concern. I just knew I was going to do it. I just recognized that I was an emotional artist and used my images to heal myself first. I'm going to pause for a moment and ask Paul to start a slideshow. My paintings are done with passion and not limited to any one skin color. The past 3 years have allowed me to reconstruct my thoughts on how I have used my paintbrush to affect change. You can just keep it going then, Paul, if you would. My One Love body of work continues to travel the world with its simple message. They've gone to Canada, Italy, France, Germany, all over the place with a simple message: unity, community, and hope. While navigating a new normal for myself, my canvas came alive with positive images. Each inspiration was purposely painted to bring joy and healing. Art will flourish when asked to. My pieces are uncomplicated and leave opportunity for the viewer to participate in its interpretations. Often I painted for gallery shows and for collectors who purchased my work, and my current paintings are still sought after by collectors. I paint now with a common theme and a common message: one love. Women, as you know, hold so much power, and we can affect so much change. Just as I've always told my story, commonalities and differences found their way onto my canvas, making this a lifelong commitment. I'm not a political painter, but an emotional one, affected by everyday life. By planting the seed through my body of work, my One Love images inspire with titles like See Me and Eyes Wide Open, have inspired me to continue telling my story with a lifelong commitment. My paintings have been influenced by people I know and people I do not know. And they still, as I said, continue to travel the world. That simple message of one love.
That's beautiful, Dorothy.
Now, my challenge is to the audience is the whole point of my doing the One Love, as I said, was just to connect people. And I'm hoping for a better and kinder world because of that. So my challenge to everyone out there is to pause for just a moment. And when you see differences, I want you to think about potential and possibilities. And do that through my One Love message. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dorothy. That's beautiful. You
That
know,
is
so much of what you said just resonates with me because some of the very same themes are woven through my writing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we grew up probably facing a lot of the same challenges. So for that,
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to call on Kendra Williams.
Okay.
Kendra, if you could spend some time telling us a little bit about what you're passionate about and how you want your message to reach the rest of the world.
Sure. I like to think of myself as being born at the intersection of language and music and experimentation. I come from a family that is very creative, very brilliant. My dad is an engineer. My mom is many things, but as you heard today, she's an author, and she, in my eyes, is an artist. I have many musicians in my family, and I tried so many different things growing up. and somehow fell into the tech world as a project, program, and portfolio manager. You know, I was working in tech, and when the world slowed down in 2020, I found that I wasn't really happy in my work life, and I was pretty burnt out, and I had caused my body to slow down too. So I took some time off to focus on my health, and I took the opportunity to try and reconnect with some of my creative passions that I had as a child. And I picked up The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron and started doing morning pages. It's one of the things that she recommends, which is really journaling using stream of consciousness, and, you know, journaling 3 pages a day when you wake up. And through that exercise, and against the backdrop of police brutality and protests and COVID, and my own solitude, my own stories started to spill out of me. And I started sharing them with friends of mine, many, almost all of whom are not Black, because I also grew up in a predominantly white environment. I found that they started sharing my stories with their families, their students, their networks, and the response was pretty overwhelming. I started getting lots of questions about what it was like to exist as one of few. And I started also getting stories from other people like me who had similar experiences, or different ones, but that resonated with mine. And I found that, you know, there were so many people who wanted to just have an opportunity or a space to share. And, you know, in my pages, one day I was musing about, you know, media that I was consuming, TV, books, podcasts, and noticed that all of the, not all, most of the representation from underrepresented groups really came from 2 opposite ends of a spectrum. There was either really rich Black people who were one of one, or very poor Black people with tragic stories, or there was lots of drugs and violence, or an exceptional talent that allowed them to be plucked out of their environment by a white savior. And I thought, this is incomplete. This is not what my experience is. I exist somewhere in the middle of all of this. And I wrote down the words Black and brown in the middle, and that's how it kind of began. I thought, why not create a space for those of us who exist in between, in the middle, are, you know, in the middle of environments that are not like the ones we have at home, or in the middle of these opposite ends of a spectrum. And I shared the concept with a friend who shared it with another friend who happened to be a cinematographer. And we were on our way to building a production company. So that's how Black and Brown in the Middle was born. That's my passion.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you talk about it, because obviously I've known about Black and Brown in the Middle, but I had no real understanding of what all of the story was. And I'm sure even now I don't know the whole story, but that is just so, it's illustrative of the fact that it's important to ask people questions, and then actually listen to what they say as the answer. So Kendra, in terms of Black and Brown in the Middle, what are some of the challenges that you face with that?
Oh my word. So I thought about this in 3 different ways. I thought about it from a business specific perspective, from a kind of personal, professional perspective, myself as a leader, and then also from a also from a personal, emotional perspective. I'd say business specific. One of the things that I struggle with is managing the resources that go into building a business. I'm very passionate about it. And so my inclination is to pour everything that I have, finances, energy, time, all of it into creating. And that gets me into trouble. And so one of the things that I have had to do is be very honest with the people around me about that, and learn to accept consequences, but also accept help. So that's number one. Number two, from a personal, professional, as a leader perspective, one of the challenges that I face is I really love consensus. I really wanted to build an environment, a business that didn't look like the environment that I had kind of cut my teeth in professionally, that led to the burnout. I really wanted everyone to be inspired and to want to come and create and bring all of their experience and their background to the work. But that's not the environment that we all move in and live in. In this society, you know, money talks, and leaders have to lead. They have to make decisions. And so that's something that I have been growing in and learning to do, just make decisions and lead. And then the third, I would say, personally, I am very particular about the level of authenticity that I bring. I am pretty private, but I do a good job of making people believe that they know everything about me. And so being a creative and sharing my story, I struggle with peeling more layers back, and being more levels and layers of authentic in my work. So that is also something that I'm growing in. And I think that it allows for me to practice that with others as I'm creating space for them to bring their authentic selves to their stories. So yeah, those are my challenges, and I'm learning through them.
So people usually have no trouble talking about their challenges and the things that didn't perhaps go well. Can you share with us some of a success that you hold dear?
Oh boy, this one. I took notes. I took notes on what I wanted to say, and I have nothing in my notes on this, because this is not as easy. But I will say that I knew absolutely nothing about producing film when I started Black and Brown in the Middle. And I successfully produced a 15-minute documentary. And it is the culmination of all those challenges that I shared with you, and persevering through them. So I can say I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that.
Well, Shana said it's right above your shoulder. Exactly, exactly. So last thing, do you have a call to action?
Yes, I have two. One, it is my deepest wish that everyone spend time actively learning to love themselves. I think that is the root of all of the problems that we have with ourselves and with each other. I think that hate truly is rooted in how we feel about ourselves and our lack of understanding of ourselves. I think that if we spend time loving ourselves, there isn't any room for hate or jealousy or wanting to take up more space than we need. And then the second thing, I believe in healing through storytelling as well. And I think that part of storytelling, and you spoke to this earlier, is listening. And so I really would encourage everyone to create space for listening and for hearing. And the more that you do that, the more you add to your own story. And so those are my two calls to action. Love yourself and listen.
Thank you, Kendra. Shana, would you share with us a little bit about what you're about? I can't wait to hear it.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll talk a bit about my current path and how it relates to the three words that I offered, which were liberation, joy, and love. And I'm going to try and be brief because the theme that keeps coming up is storytelling. And I tell epics. I don't know about stories. So I'm going to try and hold it together. And I may enlist some folks to help me out in the chat. So get your chat fingers ready. But yeah, I feel like in this moment, just hearing a lot of what's happening here on this panel, there's so many things that I can draw from, and the parallels and the feelings that I can tell we have felt some things in common. For me, I would say I'm kind of an old soul, I've been told a lot of times. I have an older sister, and there's these cute stories about her first words. If you ask my family, what were Shana's first words? They're like, heck, we do not know. It came out in sentences, right? So I started talking at 6 months. I haven't stopped. And I have a long set of memories because of that. And for me, at the ages of 5 and 10 and 12, I've been talking about this lately. I just really made some declarations about who I am and where I want to be in the world and how I want to take up space. And I meant that. And I am living into them even to this very day, and they still order my steps as I move forward. I just find that really interesting as I look back, because I was so sure of myself. So I was hearing Ms. Dorothy talking earlier about that inner confidence and knowing. And it's not to say I don't struggle with, doubt and whatever, but there's a sense for the things that really matter. I have a guide, and it's bigger than me, right? And so like you were saying, maybe Dr. Johnson, it was with the ancestors talking to you, or with God talking through and to you. It just feels very real. So this path has led me to you. I jokingly refer to myself as the world's oldest living millennial. I basically knew from the age of 5, I want to be an attorney. I became an attorney. I practiced law. I laugh now. My mom has the last laugh because she's like, and now you're in nonprofits, just like your mama. So I'm now serving as an executive of a nonprofit. I had 2 wonderful role models. I have a wonderful family. I always say I won the family lotto. And I've been really fortunate to be able to find ways to model, or find ways to fit into the model that was set for me by my family, by my parents, to find ways to serve the community, find ways to uplift Black people, find ways to hold the door open as you do it, so that Black folks and all kinds of folks can enter after you've done that work. And it just feels really, really important to me. So for me, the words were liberation, joy, and love. And I feel so fortunate that, what I get to do every day. I work at Center for Excellence in Nonprofits. You'll see it up there. And I got to help form the values that we live by. We call it IDEAL: inclusion, diversity, equity, access, and liberation. And one of the things that makes me the world's oldest living millennial is that I have not only had 85,000 jobs, I have had 45,000 careers. And I basically have had good ones. I have had not so good ones. I have had fantastic leaders. I have had less than fantastic leaders, but through that, I've had lots of lessons. And I just feel really blessed. I feel really lucky to go to work every day at a place where I can show up as my authentic self. And I can do work that is truly uplifting for people. And I'm building something. And that feels really important. Some of the things that I heard said earlier were around being what I call the only one. Y'all are gonna make me dust off my podcast. I have a podcast called The Only One. And basically what that's like to be the only face in the place that looks like yours, right? And there are constant attacks on your personhood, constant attacks on your skills, constant attack on your mental capacities, right? And your smarts. And basically, it's just incredible. I think through family, through faith, all the things, I was able to shrug the great majority of that off and just continue in my path and my purpose. And I'm still defining that every day. And that's where my creativity comes in. I haven't necessarily felt locked into one road, one path. My folks gave me a lot of reinforcement through athletics, through academics, and they let me pick what was right for me. And sometimes that could manifest as challenge. We talked about challenges a little bit. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, very Black city. I was in a very white existence in that very Black city. And I realize now I was sort of that second or third wave of integration, frankly. You know, neighborhoods where nobody looked like me, schools where very few people looked like me, constantly fighting, like, are the police going to pull us over again today? Are we going to do this again? You know, things like that. If I invite my friends or family to come visit, are they going to be harassed at the city line because of how they look or the car that they drive, class and race and all the things mixed in? And because of this pretty unique upbringing at a unique time, my parents, who are activists, Pan-African, just, you know, really instilled with me the importance of knowing who I am. Also, let me just express. And so I got to be a person who was creative in the way I dress, the way that I talk. You know, it doesn't sound like all Memphians, this, that, and the third. And that was great, but it also could put distance between me and other people that look like me. Sometimes they thought that I thought I didn't see myself in them, right? And so that has just been something really deep. And I long for connection with other Black folks. Tina, I think you spoke to it a bit. I moved to Livermore, and whenever I see other folks like me, I'm like, hey, how are you? And how are we gonna stay connected? Because now you're mine, sorry.
And that is so true, because when I met Shana,
yeah,
she insisted on taking my email and phone and, you know, all the things, and she kept me informed of what was going on. I want to ask you a question, because we're going to have to move on. What does liberation mean in your list of words there?
Sure. Just, it means being free from oppression, free from abuse and exploitation, able to show up authentically, like what Kendra was talking about, and just be myself. And as I deepen my understanding of liberation, I am constantly not only asking, can I show up as myself, but does this situation merit me showing up as myself? How much of myself do these folks get? And I'm not going to give more than what serves me, than what edifies me. And in this stage of my life, I'm 45, I'm owning that. And it feels really impactful and important. And in my day-to-day, I work as an educator of sorts as well, about, you know, I do capacity work to help other nonprofits do what they do better through skill sets and community building and whatnot. And I feel like showing up authentically in my role, I feel like giving people the tools to do what they do better is helping to liberate them. And I think it's about individual liberation and collective liberation, because I can't have mine until you all have yours.
Wow. Okay, one sentence call to action.
Sure. What I guess I would say is, if you want to learn more about IDEAL, these are values that are close to my heart, and they're close to the work that I do. They're rooted. They're what root the work. I'll put some things in the chat. CEN.org is where I work. We have a newsletter you can join just to learn more about how we incorporate that into literally every single thing that we do, whether it's forward facing or whether it's internal practices and procedures. So that would be one thing. And I guess now we put the only one podcast out there. And, you know, I have some episodes up, but I got like a bajillion more that I've been threatening for a while to put back up. And now you got me thinking, Kendra, we're going to talk.
Nice, nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Cato,
Wow.
share with us.
Okay, so where do I start? I've just been so inspired hearing everybody else's story. I must say that I guess based on the two young ladies, and I can call them young because I'm 51, the two young ladies that talked about growing up in predominantly white environments, I can actually share a different perspective because I actually grew up in a not predominantly, but all Black environment. I am from Mobile, Alabama, born and raised. I am a Bama girl. And I grew up, everything around me was Black: pastors, church, neighborhood, community, teachers, principals, all of the thought leaders. So so when I hear people say that you know, they grew up missing that, you know, I feel like, wow, I was privileged. And I did not realize how privileged I was until I left that. And now I'm raising children. And, you know, my children, my daughter did not have a Black teacher until she got to middle school. And they made me sad because I said my kindergarten teacher was a Black woman. She ran her own private school. And my principal, all I knew was Black principals. So that kind of made me sad. But anyway, it made me very appreciative of who I am and where I'm from. And I alluded to it when we just talked about my book and my writing and how, you know, you asked for 3 words and I shared them: author, content creator, and community volunteer. And I said it was more, I did not choose those words, but those words, they chose me because it's very much who I am and what my life has been about. I have this saying that's very true: we plan, but God laughs, because we know that His plan and His purpose for our life will always prevail, regardless of what we may have planned for ourselves. And Shana, I have somewhat of a similar story. When I was younger, I said that I wanted to be an attorney, and life took me on a very interesting journey. I don't have time to share it now. That's a whole nother testimony, maybe another book. But was about to enter law school, or was starting the process in my 20s. And my mom passed away. And I'll just say, fast forward 20 years later, I'm in law school. So I will just say to anybody out there, never give up on your dream, and never say that you're too old, because we're not too old, and it's never too late to do what you were put here to do in this world. So I just want to encourage people. Another Terry, and I know this Terry in the audience, she actually put about changing careers and pivoting, because I think when you're around a group of creatives, we are the queen of pivots. We will change careers, change directions in a heartbeat if it does not serve, or if it's not doing what we feel it should do. And it does take a lot of courage to do that. And Shana, I'm right there with you. I've probably had like 20 careers in my lifetime. And I had a coworker that always referred to me as the Jackie of all trades, because they would say, does anybody know how to do this? And they would be like, go talk to Terry. She used to do this. Anybody worked at a nonprofit? Yeah, go talk to Terry. Anybody worked in professional sports? Go talk to Terry. Anybody worked for the federal government? Go talk to Terry. So you name it, I have probably done it. I think I've touched every industry that there probably is, but it's all good because I've lived a very rich and rewarding life, and I know that there's more to come. So how I got to, or what my goal is in my storytelling or my creativeness, I just want to spread inspiration. I just want what I write, what I produce, what I say to inspire other people. I want to be the person who goes against the grain. I've always done that my entire life. If the trend was to go right, Terry was going to go left. If all of the girls were going to wear red, Then Terry wore pink. Now I wear pink and green, but I had to throw that. So I'm the kind of person, and I've only heard one other person say this in my life. I don't like trends. I hate trends. If something is trending, Terry is probably going to do the opposite of what's trending. And that's very much in what I do when I produce or when I create something. When you talk about reality shows and TV shows and just things that are out there right now, it exploits people. It exploits us oftentimes. It exploits Black people. It shows us in the not so positive light. And that's one of the things that I wanted to change in terms of a narrative when I was creating my show before the pandemic. I just wanted to do positivity. I had opportunities to go the reality show route, was going down that road. And the more I learned about TV and what reality shows encompass, I said, I don't want my name or my brand to be associated with something like that. So I think we all have choices. And we, thank you, Terry, we have to be courageous in the choices that we make, and we have to be okay. We have to take a stand for something. And I said, I'm not willing to sell my soul for $2. You know, I said, it's not worth it. So at the end of the day, what will my legacy be? That will not be it. My legacy is going to be one where I inspired and I empowered other women. So just some challenges that I've had because of my stand on what I believe and what I feel. Doors don't always open. They don't always open for people who look like me anyway. And if we're not willing to do what someone wants us to do, then they don't open that door for you, or they don't allow you to take space on certain platforms. But it's okay, because we know how to create space. So again, that's what my show aims to do. That's what my podcast, that's what my books, my writing. I just want to put positivity out there. We all have a choice every day with how we're going to represent ourselves and our community. And I choose to do it through love and positivity.
Well, I can say, as someone who knows you and who has had the opportunity to work on issues and some fun things and maybe some not so fun things, but you do it all with integrity and positivity. And I appreciate that about you. What is your one sentence call to action?
My one sentence call to action is, if you want to be inspired by my book, you might say, well, I'm not a single woman. I don't desire to be married. It's okay. My book is not about those who desire to be married. It's for those who want to be inspired. Buy the book, give it to somebody else. Support another Black woman who is out trying to do something positive. We always say we want positive TV, we want positive platforms. Well, when people like me bring them to you, you have to support it. Support the website, support the shows, because what gets the airspace is what we support, whether we know it or not. So
absolutely
support those of us that are doing positive things. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Dr. Stephanie, you know, whenever I think of this quote, it's old, and Kendra will roll her eyes because all of my quotes are old. Treat your friends as you do your pictures and place them in their best light. When I hear that, I think of you because of what you do with the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
It just give people an opportunity and show them in their best light.
Yeah, I that's what I try to do. And I'd like to show some visuals, and then I'll speak about the challenges and all the things that you're asking with the visuals, if that's okay, Tina.
Okay, here we go. Let me share screen.
So I teach at Cal State Monterey Bay, and I'm a founding faculty member of the Visual and Public Art Department. Next slide, please. And I think there's an art to being an educator. I don't think we can separate the art of education from visual arts, from theater, from music, from drama. It's got its own set of rules and tools and gifts to give. Now, this was a 3-year project where I met Tina. It's the history of African Americans in Berkeley. I hope to, with Tina, write the book because we archived so much information and we talk to young people, old people. It's so important that our legacy and our information not get lost. And we made it a 3-year project, which was really important because you can't tell that kind of information in 1 year, one sitting. Next, please. So I'm also a visual artist. This is a piece that I did called The Ancestors Grove. It was at the Lake Merritt Festival of the Lights. And I did it with my friend Kevin Myrick. We built 10-foot trees that had solar lights, mirrors, lasers. We commissioned a South African artist to make some masks for us because masks have different functions. If it's a sacred mask, you would not put it in a public display in this kind of way. So we had specific masks made in order to put on our baobab trees. That's our inspiration. I can go on about baobab trees forever, but I will not. It was a really important large-scale project, 10-foot trees with long limbs, big fun. And next slide, please. This is a significant project. It was the first public art commission that I got. It was 1991, which tells you how old I am, OG, all day. 1991, I got a $10,000 grant, which I thought was a big, big, big deal. In the end, my father died while it was going up. So, and he left me a little money. I ended up paying myself for some of the materials because this is a large scale installation with projectors. And now you see things projected everywhere all the time. It was not common. You know, we're speaking about, Shana spoke about being the only one. At that moment, slide projections were a bunch of glitz and tricks. But what I did was I went to the Oakland Public Library. One of my favorite places, to go is the library. And I got archival materials. I went to a couple of organizations and interviewed some people who had worked on the railroad. And so people sat in their cars and listened to the stories and watched the images dissolve on the surface of the building. On the 30-year anniversary, which was 2021, the Oakland Theater Project brought it back. And both times, 91 and 2021, was sold out. The parking lot was full because it was a very unique idea. I'm hoping to do something like this in Oakland or Berkeley, where I can, bring forward the stories of people who have been forgotten, because certainly the 4 or 5 people I interviewed are gone. They're gone now because they were old then. But their materials are over at the African Museum and Library of Oakland, which means they'll be preserved and their memories will be there forever. So important. Next slide, please. So if I had to have a primary identification, I would say it's as a theater worker. I grew up in the East Bronx in New York, making my living on this coast as a foreigner, because I'm, still very East Coast, even though I've been here 40 some years. So I went to college for theater. Everybody always wants to do acting and entertainment, but the next to the last semester, I took a lighting design course and I just fell in love with it. The first job I had out of college was doing lighting design for a woman. I'll never forget her. She's still alive, Dr. Evelyn Moore. She was a psychologist. She wrote a piece called The Black Dyad, which was a conversation between a Black man and a Black woman. And that was the first lighting gig I ever did. And I'm about to celebrate 48 years of doing lighting design. This is Kill Move Paradise over at the Shotgun Theater. It's all about men who had been killed by the police. And they end up in this kind of netherworld. They don't know where they are. You know, and they talk about their experience of being killed by the police and ending up somewhere else. And you can see that color and shape and accent are my tools for doing lighting design. Next slide, please. And I currently have a show up. I don't think it's closed yet. If anybody wants to come to Berkeley, I'm doing lighting for a show called Paradise Blue at Aurora Theater. It's about a city in Detroit and Black families and Black legacy. Really important. Over the past maybe decade, I've been invited more and more and more to work on Black productions, and it really feeds my soul, because the statistics about designers on Broadway is thought of as the pan-ultimate spot in theater in this country. And Broadway has a long, long history. There have only been five Black designers on Broadway. 2 of them were women. 1 was my friend who's still alive, who's my age, and the other was her mentor. 5. We have that same kind of thing going on in theater companies here. Berkeley Repertory Theater, American Conservatory Theater. Where are the Black designers? In any event, this is a play called Gila. It's about Henrietta Lacks. And I think people know something about her. She was operated upon, and her cells, which were very regenerative, were used in cancer research. She wasn't paid for it. She didn't know that. And so I encourage everybody to think about Henrietta Lacks. I think that they're in discussions now because time has passed and there are more resources to sue people for something that has changed the face of medicine without any compensation to the family. So this is my friend, Janae Simon. And you can see how when you light the background, I have 2 screens here, so I'm looking back and forth. You can see how color gives people a certain kind of feeling. You can see how when you can see the actor in front, it makes a difference, as opposed to just a silhouette against the green in the background. So, you know, my career has gone on for over 4 decades. Next year, I'll celebrate my 50th anniversary. I have a friend who's a wedding planner, and I just wrote to her last night and said, let's plan a big event, because I think it's really important to celebrate. I mentor younger Black theater artists and any artists. And my directive, because Tina said we have to have a directive, and I wrote mine down. And I wrote, we all have something we can do to put the world back in balance. I encourage you, all of you, to find your cause, your passion, your inner warrior to fight for equity, sanity, and the recovery of humanity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I think you place people in their best light.
I try my best.
I think you do.
Beautiful.
So last and certainly not least, and I did this on purpose, I put Queen Anne last because she is going to talk to us a little bit about what she's doing now, which is changing the whole conversation around aging. And I think that that's something that is really interesting to everyone. And as Shana says, who could possibly go after the Queen? So
I'm so in awe with all of you. So thank you, Tina. I'm just honored that you even invited me. This is like, ooh, these women are awesome. Oh my God. So in terms of my words, honesty, integrity, openness, possibility, but the passion is always been around service. If it's not going to serve you, it's not going to serve others, I'm not doing it. I just don't want to waste my time. And I'm sort of a, what do you call those things, a kaleidoscope of interests, of ventures, of journey. I've done a little bit of it all. I think that's why I was thinking, I don't know, Tina didn't say this, but I was thinking she picked me because I'm the oldest. It's intergenerational team here, and I'm the oldest one. Because I'm 82, thank God. Well, I used to complain, but I'm like my mother said, never complain what you've been given to by God. So I'm 82, thank you very much. And so I was looking at my life, like I wrote in 1974, there was a poetry book that I wrote. I've always been interested in learning and venture, and no matter what it is, like my father said, you leave a job better than when you got it, okay? So I had 2 children by the time I was 18, and then my life began there. And trying to figure out what it means to be a wife, a mother, and then where am I? So my life, did not begin until I got divorced, because my whole thing was trying to keep the family together, and I didn't concentrate. And I looked up and I said, I have a life here. Let me start looking at to see what am I gonna do. And so I, went back to school. I've always gone to school. So it's just, I've always taken courses. I've been very good at courses. I left there and went to the city of San Jose and City College and Berkeley College and Evergreen College and San Francisco University. Anything I'm interested in, I take a class in it. I want to find out what the deal is. No, I do not have a degree, but I have everything else, so I can't complain. I just don't have that regimen of going to school and coming home with a degree. And I did get one from City College when I first got a divorce, and met up with some wonderful people that I've known until they passed away. But all my life, I've been interested in what's next. My service is what's next. So as a result of that, at IBM, I used to turn in suggestion awards and get them. And no matter what job I had, when I left, it was better. And passed on some. And I just always thought, like, this is not it. There's got to be something else. And I used to work with the People's Production with Porky, and did River Niger. So Dr. Stephanie, you may know about that, River Niger. And what was the other one? Amen Corner. And I used to always go to San Francisco to theater. And I've always been interested in that. And so his name was Eddie Savage, asked me to take over his show because I had a monthly calendar that I was putting out of all the events in San Jose. And then I got interested in television. I like this. So he left the show, and I been doing it since 1974. And it's been award-winning, and it's changed its process. It started off airing. There are beautiful Black people doing all kinds of things. So I want to make that public. Then it started with the youth. I want to show youth that there was something positive they could get. So I did a lot of youth programs. And then it was community. I wanted to show the community events by being the chair for the MLK for a number of years. That was televised. And the Urban League and different events to show people in the community how varied Black people are in this community. That's my commitment. And it'll always be. So that's why I say my life is a puzzle of different colors, shapes, and sizes. And my challenges it's like, what is the future? What is the future? What's next? Like, we don't know what's possible until we look outside of what we already know, and then look there and see what's there. And one of the ways you can do that, through which I've discovered I'm also a university coach and a professional coach. I did that for a while, and I'm still designated as a coach, and also a mediator for the state of California. So mediating small claim courts. And so I've had a variety of jobs, but it's just part of my personality to have a variety of everything. And now that I'm at this age, I had to look this up now. What the heck am I going to do now? You know, because I had some personal injuries, and I had to quit the job at the Dignity Memorial, giving people a chance to lay out their plan for their loved ones, which I love. I think all Black people should do that. We leave our parents, our children in such pain when we don't make those kinds of arrangements, and it's cost so much less. So after this, in 2017, I think I used to pray a lot. I don't know what the next step is going to be. I said, what is the next step? Because you know when your time is up on a certain project, you need to advance it, change it, alter it, do something. And I knew that what I was doing was no longer valuable. It was valuable, but not expanding. So in the middle of the night, I came across this idea, like how people look at us as we age. And I'd been encountering that because we're so dismissed at meetings and conversations and stuff. And I wanted to change the conversation of age from one of end of life to one of adventure, to one of increase the value, increase the experience, to see what's next, invent something that we don't even have now. We have better health, we have better, self-confidence, we have more experience. So why not lower the depression, less regrets, and keep moving forward as we make a difference every day? Because we haven't been this age before. Like, I've never been this age before. I didn't even think I'd get this age. But since I have, hey, I'm going to make the best of it. Okay. And I don't know what that means, but I love the fact that because I don't know, I get to invent it, like make it up, like what's possible here. And I met such great people in my life, like Tina's one. She's there during early days when I was trying to figure out what to do with the Urban League, and she put up this whole project, a personal, what was it, Tina? It was personal development or something. And then we did this women's organization. And so I've just been one to always do something that's going to make a difference and make sure that we include more. So the conversations that I'm committed to changing is all the conversations that deal with age in terms of lessening their importance. So you can put on my slide now. That's my great granddaughter with me that made up the slide. I love it. And Reginald Sweetie made up this slide. It's beautiful. I just talked to him about what I wanted, and then he put this slide together for me. So I'm so grateful. So here it is. And it's, what's your legacy? Like, we're all living our legacy. Everything we do is part of a legacy we got to do. And do it with vim and vigor, not like a regret. We're all living longer. Today's world where aging is no longer a negative concept, according to Trump. I can't even see this right now, so pardon me for that. But anyway, we have a life as long as we're breathing, and there's something new and vibrant about our being, whatever age we are. And so we should look to see, what are we going to create that doesn't exist now, that we may make a difference for those that's going to follow us in the future. And I'm just so, I've been interviewed before, so I'm kind of nervous about this, but it's exciting, and I'm so happy to be among all of you and be present to, saying something about my show that is my passion right now, is to leave a legacy that you can turn people on. It's not turned on now. People are sitting around playing cards, looking at TV, going, regretting their life, or have stuff that they would or should have, could have did. But that's too bad. Everybody has it. Just move on. Now, what are you going to do now? It's always look at the now and then what's next. That's the best life you can have, is to know that you made a difference in your life, and you made a difference in others. So that's transforming conversations regarding aging. And I want that in terms of health, in terms of the way people look at people in the aging home, the way we look at ourselves, because we see a certain age, I can't do this, I can't do that. remembering the past and wishing we was there again. No way, you're not going back. Every day is over. And to live life like you really treasure the time you've been blessed to have. So that's all I can say.
Well, that's quite enough. I told Kendra the other day that whenever my phone rings and I see it's Queen Anne, I know that I'm up for an adventure. And she will say, do you want to do this? And I'll say yes. Even if I don't even really know what it is that we're going to be doing, I just say yes. Because like she said, we have to look at things outside of the box. We have to look at things in a different way. We have to be willing to just try something. And so Queen Anne inspires me to do that. The other thing, Queen Anne, years ago, she said to me, at least every person has at least 10 books in them. I am now writing book 10.
Oh, really?
So thank you for that, Queen Anne. So I would like to say this has fulfilled my desire to have the opportunity to hear from each one of you, to hear a little bit more about what you're passionate about. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your thoughts. And I took to heart your calls to action. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Kendra, I want to know more about what you're doing. I got your podcast. Is that it? I don't know what it is called. Is that a podcast?
The Black and Brown in the Middle?
Yeah, I saw that presentation.
Oh, yeah. So I am at this point trying to figure out what's next. You know, I think I want to get more episodes out, but you know, I need the funds. I need the funds. So I've been applying to grants and trying to raise money to keep going. So, but yeah. I owe you a phone call. I really do. So I promise to give you a call this week.
Okay, keep talking about it. It'll come. Just keep talking, making it public as often as you can. And Dr. Stephanie, I love that. I wish I was an actress. I'm not courageous enough to be one, but I wish I was to be able to express certain things that I see. But I'm so glad that.
But didn't somebody say you're never too old?
Yes, I said that.
Yes, I said that as well. You're not too old. It's not too late.
Yes. Now that I know you, when the casting calls come out, I'm trying to find you.
Yes, be inspired by the actress from Black Panther. She didn't start acting until I think she was 90 something.
Wow.
If I have San Jose a theater, there's 3 here in San Jose that I go to. The one in San Francisco, one in Mountain View. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Queen Anne, because you are theater. Everything that you do is theatrical. So I'm surprised that you don't see yourself as an actress.
No, I don't. No, I don't feel I have the courage to be that expressive. Like, okay, cue mom right here.
Not yet.
But yeah.
Not yet.
But it is great to see you, Terry. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's good to see you as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard me, but I said, allow the actress from Black Panther to inspire you. She was the elderly one that said, we don't need a warrior right now. We need a king. And that's her most famous line. But she did not start acting until her later phase in life. So allow that to inspire you. It's never too late.
Really?
You are not too old. Yes, ma'am. So look her up.
I will. But there's so many artists that I found out during, I do a lot of workshops and seminars and trainings for little girls and teenage youth at risk, and, you know, just create, I just make them up and write out, workshops and seminars. But there's a family called the Masons family. It's a multicultural Black family that are all classical musicians. and they have the most beautiful music in the world. I've just been trying to let people know about that they've been at the Carnegie Hall and all over Europe, and not too much out this way, but they're awesome. There's 7 children that all play classical music on different instruments. It's awesome.
Oh, so are there questions, Paul? Paul, are you there? You're muted.
I know. Okay. Wow.
Are there questions?
Well, thank you very much. There's I haven't got any questions, but there's a lot of comments. I'm not sure if you're seeing all the great comments in the chat right now. Just yeah, just praising.
I think there was
y'all.
one by Ra. Maybe Ra can put it in the.
Yeah, Ra, can you type in your question in the chat? Okay.
Or would you be able? Yeah.
Can,
So
can,
I think we lost Ra.
can Ra talk? Well, it
Still
looks
there.
like their hands up. Can you unmute Ra?
Let
Paul?
me see. I am not seeing him.
You don't? He's on our screen.
Can you see him, Jackie? Can you see Ra?
Unfortunately, no, I cannot.
Oh, wait,
Let me
okay.
see.
Ra has joined the panel. Okay, let me
Okay.
unmute you. Okay, go ahead, Ra. You unmute yourself, please. Okay. Well, I think.
is there a way to get a printout of the comments? I'm not.
Oh
good at-
yeah, I am saving the chat right now.
Okay, good.
And all wonderful comments right now. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? Type it in the chat.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because in webinar form, the attendees can't use their microphones.
Oh,
I think that might be it.
Oh, right. Okay. So it looks like.
Dorothy. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it looks we have a question from Rick here for Dorothy. What is the inspiration behind the One Love painting?
Oh, well, as I mentioned, One Love just sort of was born out of the fact that I needed to save myself from feeling so terrible about the way the country was going, the way the people were treating each other, just the hate in the world, and just all of the things, the bad karma that was out there. And it was just almost too much for me. And I knew that I had to paint every day as a healing tool. And so I just pulled out my paints and I started painting whatever came to me. And I said, wow, that's just one love. And of course, I listened to Bob Marley a lot. And
Yeah.
so it just sort of grew out of that. I just started calling it my one love, and people started catching on to the message, and they started sharing with other people. And it just started its own movement. And so I continue with that every day. I paint something every day that I can.
It's beautiful.
well, Terry, thank you so much for joining the panel. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Terry, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know about this webinar. Do you get a tape of this, Tina, or is it just this particular viewing that's available?
I'm not sure. You have to ask Jackie and Paul.
Okay. Okay, Jackie.
So we're currently recording it, and then we're gonna go ahead and put it up on our YouTube channel so everyone can see it. And then we'll share that link with you specifically through email so that you have that.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a question to Queen Anne. I heard you mention San Jose a lot. Do you live in San Jose?
I live in Santa Clara now, but I grew up in San Jose. I've been in San Jose since 1954.
I have never met you or run into you, and I live in San Jose, and I just want to know why.
God, where do you live?
I live in North San Jose, and I've been here since '64, and I have never met you. So
Wow.
Tina, you need to share Queen Anne.
That's amazing.
That is so amazing. And I love art. I love art. I had a feeling for art, so I took up art. What do you call it?
She should be a pen woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll talk offline about that.
We'll talk about that. We'll definitely
yeah.
Get to talk.
She should be a pen woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, all of these women should be pen women.
Do you still have those events, Tina? The pen women, pen people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
We'll get in
all
touch
of
for
them.
sure.
All of you, pen women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I know this is generational, and Queen Anne was talking about age. Well, you young ladies are so inspiring. Just to listen to you tell your stories. My goodness, I wish you had been around in my neighborhood.
Yeah. How old are you, Dorothy?
82.
Oh, we're the same age. Oh my God. We're sisters, all right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's wonderful.
And looking for the next adventure.
This has all been about preparing those to become our age to not get trapped in aging, that thought of aging. Like when I was little, we revered the older people. I mean, it was something that we respected, we listened to them, we couldn't wait to be around them. They had so much knowledge and stories and pearls of wisdom. And it was, I think this is the only country that doesn't really. Yeah, I wonder
appreciate.
what happened.
I don't know. I don't know.
And they had good food for us, candies, cookies.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would run up and down. I would run up and down the street in the Bronx and stop at everybody's house and get something to eat before I went home.
Yes, I understand. And although I grew up in a white neighborhood, on Sunday, we went to church all day long. We go downtown to the Black church, and we were in church all day. And it was like, for me as a little kid, it was like I found my people. That's what it felt like. It felt like I had found my people. You know, it was just
okay. There's a question here for Dr. Johnson. What was the deep inspiration that moved you to do the lighting, designing, and were there other women that were doing lighting, designing?
When I graduated, I have a quick answer to that. I graduated from undergraduate school in 1974. There were two or three known women who were lighting designers. They were all in New York. I grew up in New York and ran away from there. I wanted to go to college in California. My mother was raised in New England. She was not paying for any college that was not part of the original states. That was not part of New England. So I was not allowed to come to college in California. So the inspiration was that I just fell in love with it, and it was a way you could make money. And at that point, the roles for Black women, any way you cut it, were denigrating and weird. and I knew that even at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21, it was like, oh no, that's weird. So I started doing lighting, and it was something I could do. However, when I first started, there were very, very few Black women. I remember once I was on a film set. I actually worked with Robert Townsend, and I was on and this is the power of solidarity. So my father died, and I had to go back home in the middle of the 5 Heartbeats. When I came, there were 2 of us Black women who were electricians. Everybody was Black on the crew. When I came back, there was a complaint from somebody about the two of us women because we wouldn't pick up the big heavy things on our own. Unfortunately, Laretha Jones, the executive director, told the guy that was complaining, "I will fire you. I will fire you. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You're not doing what you're supposed to." That's the power of solidarity. I've never forgotten that. And when I went home for a week to New Jersey, she saved my job for me for a week. Do you know what that means in Hollywood? To save somebody's job? Because it's like next, next, next. She saved my job for me. So that's the power of solidarity.
Well, Jackie, you're gonna have to pull the reins in, because we'll sit here and talk all night.
Okay, we can talk.
Yes. I mean, that brings me joy because I just love listening to everyone's stories. And I'm so appreciative of all of you for sharing them with us here at the Livermore community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would like to also just say to everybody that we are celebrating Livermore Reads Together in March. We're featuring the Radium Girls by Kate Moore. And we're also going to be honoring Women's History Month, kind of interconnected with Livermore Reads Together as well.
Yes, we have great programs happening in March for Livermore Reads Together and Women's History Month. Speaking of which, we're going to have a virtual talk and Q&A with the author of The Radium Girls, Kate Moore, this Sunday, March 5th, on Zoom. So you won't want to miss that. So go to www.livermorelibrary.net for more information. And again, thank you to Tina and all our wonderful panelists.
Yes, thank you
You're
so much.
all awesome.
As a result of team, I get the monthly bulletin from the library.
That's wonderful.
I'm always in touch with what's going on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank
Tina.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Have a lovely evening.
Good night.
Mwah.